Well, hello everyone. You hear show right here talk about vegetarian, in inheritance, and talk about right here of like anybody that maybe wanted to wear that for what does it basically mean for like an inheritance, and it's basically that if we want to look at it as something such as like a retirement fund, if it's going to be anything maybe like any type of funds related to like the future matters, like anything that is related to anything about earnings, cash dollar earnings or anything like that. And you see right here is I would hit use right here is a picture right here with me right here the American flag. And I know I have not done too much of a study about how an inheritance works about an inheritance fund, but it's like basically that if you want to call it like what you call is like if we want to call it like a trust fund to where that and then I know that the basically I guess I don't know if there's like maybe four or three different options or so, but I'm guessing that more likely is to where that for knowing about how much money that was saved up for each family member to collect if something happens to somebody, or if it's anything that's related to like a certain amount that be divided into where for knowing about for whoever that leaves the company, or just think about as to anything based on like any type of agreement or anything like that. But so far as like for in inheritance, for like an inheritance is that you have right here is include right here as example right here of like a cash dollar amount. So this right here, if we're talking about up to 150,000, $500 right here. And let's just say this was like anything, maybe save it like for if it's like for after somebody retired, and this is about the amount of money that they may likely set aside for like say any type of a plan. I know that in which I think that for any companies that if it's going to be like for like an inheritance plan is like that I don't know if it's measured by about how much money that was saved up or about how much that was earned. And I know it's something were to happen to somebody that if it's anything related that like say that they leave the company, or if they've been working at a company for such a period of time, and then knowing about knowing about who's going to pay the taxes or so. But whenever you get the taxes worked out, especially knowing about whenever you retire. And I know that we may think about this necessarily, and I don't know if anybody here has thought about this too much of time as to where that like for any type of retirement. So I know that if anybody were a warrant to where that you're picking up a retirement, and then thinking that if you're going to be working for a company or business, working a job for at least 11 years, and thinking that you could be qualified, but think about it to where that whenever you get hired on a job that they may only pay about maybe $11-12 an hour, maybe only about $7.50, something like that, working minimum wage, and then until they give you a raise, or it's like if it's anything maybe promotions or something like that. So I know like with anybody that they've been working most of their life, and thinking as to where that for most of their life that they work, and then for about 15-20 years at the most, and think about for any type of retirement that they may think about that they're taking. And I know like for any type of retirement, if some that may think as to where that retirement basically means is to where you don't work at all, or they may say is to where you work some, but really, that I guess if you're going to begin on any kind of retirement, that they would suggest is to where to think about is to where that whenever you're going to be working, though, that it's possible you may not have to get up at a certain time or so. If you've been with the company for about 22 years, and maybe 25, or maybe 28, maybe 32 years at the most, and thinking about for like a retirement fund, and those who maybe could be just being truck drivers, like if you're driving delivery trucks or so, it may be working for a moving company. You've been with the moving company for about 12 years or so, and thinking about as to where want to pick up like a retirement. But for how long that we've been doing the job for, especially that we may think about as to where that for like any amount of money that more likely that we make. And I know that sometimes, though, that there are some people out there that may say as to where that they can't take a retirement, not just because that, that for like if it's anything about is to where that the company that still needs them to do work, or if it's anything related to like what she calls like, yeah, well, if you're not ready to take it yet. But some people out there who are between the ages of 47 and maybe 61 maybe say is to where that they try to take retirement, but then they tell them as to where that they either they gotta bring more money in, or they gotta go by the follow they gotta follow the rules and the guidelines as to where that they have to be. So just to be required for like any type of retirement. And some that may say is to where it seems like it requires like the type of a, if it's going to be what you call a disability, or if it's anything about maybe the health wise, or maybe approved by the company, is to where if it's any type of medical injury or anything like that, that maybe served in the Air Force, or like any other type of experience that you may have as well. So I know that with any kids that they like weren't to where that yeah, between the ages of maybe 22 and maybe 35 may say, oh, they're getting a little bit too old for this, but some of them may say you don't know what old is. but but you have right here is that would like to cite this new look right here, but talk about for like a retirement, as well as for anything that related to like a an inheritance, and like inheritance plan, I guess if we want to call it, to where those that it's like if we want to call it like a trust fund, to where that if it's like maybe a grandparent or somebody in the family that whenever they retired, or whenever if they resigned, or if that something happened to them, and that you're like warrant to where that for anything that was in the account or any type of arrangements, especially. And so some that may believe that more likely is to where that to be able to work out something, maybe with negotiate with maybe the finance officers or so. But on the other hand, that if we were to look at this right here, is to where like retirement, that to where like for any American people that they've been saving up for retirement for about 15 years, and they got like I said, something like an inheritance plan, or like a retirement fund. And I guess you could probably say is to where it seems like it requires a deposit. It requires at least about a 40-year deposit before it can actually happen. Do most of us really think that if that's really fair or not? I'm like, if you've been working for about 40 years or so, if you've been working it for over 40 years, and thinking as to where that you have to make a deposit of at least maybe 20% or so, and thinking about to where whenever time of age where you can be able to get on any type of retirement. But this right here, I wouldn't put the year right here. If anybody were do the math right here, by the year 2047 is knowing about any type of a retirement that could be announced by then. But well, we're talking about, with me though, that'll probably be the next 40 years or more from now or so, until maybe I'll be qualified for a number of those. But some of those senior citizens who are over the age of 62 and maybe around 65 would more likely say to her that yeah, that a lot of stuff which I'm sure that we may have all heard those stories before, as to where that back whenever you were about 16, 17, that whenever you start working, that you can maybe get a retirement, you can get like some type of retirement plan arranged, and then save up enough money just to be able to take a retirement at a certain age or so, and think about for if you can still handle the job, especially. So I know, like with anybody, if they may think as to where holding an American flag, hold an American flag for about maybe 65 days out of a year or so is not that hard of a job. But if we're going to be talking about maybe one of those big flags, and I'm sure, like with anybody, that waving an American flag through the air may seem like a pretty nice, easy job, but something may say is to where there are some complications about it too. So you're always thinking about is to where that for any type of retirement, if we would actually do the math, and thinking as to where that before taxes are taken as well, before taxes are deducted, it's like in all those other calculations, and anybody like Warren to where that that really is it all about? It's, I guess it's kind of the question to where if it's all about the amount of money that you're making, or that you really had to succeed in your goals during every step of the way. And some that may say is to where that there are still goals to be worked on, and you're like Warren, to where for any type of retirement or an inheritance, is that to where any type of inheritance that you're like thinking about is to where for what all it takes, just to be able to get something done, get something arranged, and think about the future too. And for like any type of inheritance, and some that may say is to where that the retirement is not just about you, the person alone. It could also be what about the children? What about the grandchildren, as well as maybe the cousins, and as well as other family members as well. So a lot of that money that I'm sure like $150,500 seems like a lot of money right here. And if we were to divide that by like maybe if we gave each person maybe $1,000 or so, and I know like with anybody is to where if you were to divide the money equally, and or that each person may only be qualified for a certain amount also. So that if we're to talk about like maybe for like Social Security benefits as well. And I know that the Social Security office will have the rules about that too, about information especially, and as well as for anything about as to where like doctors' visits, and as well as information that they collect as well. But one of those, like I say, for retirement. So a lot of things that more I could maybe say now is such as to where somebody that may have told you that you could be qualified for up to 30%, and as well as like you could be qualified for retirement age around this time of the year or so. And some that may look at that as to where that's a lie, because that's not that they anything that they may have told you 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, is invalid. But I just really think though that they may say is to where that in order to be qualified for any type of retirement, and as well as anything else that goes on for that, if it's going to be like for inheritance, that any amount of money that more likely that you do make, especially that know about for be used wisely, knows about what it's set aside for, and also is to where that you're like Warren, to where that for it's going to be for like any type of retirement as well. So I know that like with anybody that do we think that retirement costs money? And some of them may say, yeah, it costs money. I'm like it's like a deposit. I'm like you're talking about for the next for next maybe 40 or 50 years, or maybe the next over and possibly in about 30 years from now. I'll just go ahead and just say in the next 30 years from now. I was thinking about 25 years, but let's just say in the next 30 years from now that you may be told a little bit different. But they may raise the prices a little bit on retirements, like basically is to where that a certain amount of money from your check, and I don't know if it's per year or if it's per month, but I'm thinking more likely it's going to be some that may say it's per month, but I guess I can just use like per year. But really, I'm not. If anybody were warned to where if anybody warns us to where you collect retirement so that way you won't have to work anymore. But really, anybody who works, no matter if you're on retirement or not, or just doing side jobs, whichever, but on your hand, that that seems like to where any chores that need to be done around the house, especially. But I guess the question could go as to well, what are we going to tell people like our kids as to where that any questions that more likely remain about is whenever it talks about as to where any questions that remain about anything such as to like for like retirement. It's like for questions and answers. And the way I think about those, like for questions and answers, that we may think necessarily to where questions and answers that about what age do you think that we would need to be is like just to be able to take like any kind of retirement. And for like with anybody that if they will be asking that particular question, and you're like Warren, to worry about what age do you need and about how much money do you need to have saved up or so, and it seems like you really that I guess the true answer is more likely to say is like really to set your goals forth, and as well as knowing about for what all that you want to do as well. And some that may say, yeah, well, it's for any kind of retirement, especially for any kind of retirement, that it could also go by as to where that yeah, it's like a deposit. It basically works by like deposit. But other than that, like talk about right here, like for if it's going to be an inheritance, funds or anything like that, or if it's going to be anything like retirement by the year 2047, as well as for this amount of money right here. And I have right here is like, yeah, for me, the American right here, this is my plans for the future. And knowing about this is about how much money that I want to have saved up, and knowing about for whenever I want to take retirement. And I know anybody who's going to be between the age of 59 and maybe 67, maybe 66 is going to like say is to where that yeah, they might have changed. They have changed the rules since then, and anything that they may have told them is to where that it's like not so fast. But on the other hand, for anybody talk about retirement though, is that you're going to be working on retirement, and it seems like to where that some that may not be able to take retirement just because maybe because the economy, as well as maybe that jobs, that they say that well, it's if they change the rules and the policies, and it's basically about for like the retirement, because I guess some that may say is that whenever you collect retirement, it's basically that those checks are coming from, say, from somewhere. It's like it's paid to you from the company, is like from the amount of, from the years that you worked there, and as well as the time that you work, and based on from the years, from what you were trained by, as well as the work performance and stuff. So if we were to be doing our taxes, and I know like with anybody that whenever they do you get on retirement, that they may weren't worried about how much would it be usually be to work between how much you were making whenever you were working for the company, and especially to where that about how much money that and then I know some may say is to where whenever you do get a retirement check, that there may be times to where that they take taxes out, or it may be more, a little bit less than compared to last time. So, and I know that 40 years seems like a long time, but you're like worrying to where if anybody worries is to where that for like retirement, that if anybody were to ask, it's like, does retirement mean is to where you don't have to work, period, or just you have to work at times, you don't have to work at all, and but on the other hand, that it's like worrying to where how do we explain that? But I guess I could say is to where that any type of a retirement anybody like we take it is to where that think about is to where work is to where that anything that you're trying to work on, especially, and anything that really that based on what the doctors that may tell you, and as well as anything that you might wind up having to do also, and like I say, is like really you for sure would know whenever the doctors, especially the doctors, would know about based on your health, and as well as for how everything's going, knowing about whenever you'll be able to take retirement. So I know anybody who's maybe going to be in their 50s when what I could say is to where they've been working on retirement for quite a long time, maybe get on full disability or anything like that, and think about is to where that yeah, that they I don't think that that means that they just want to see the paychecks mainly. They don't want to work at all. They want to see the paychecks. But something they may say is to where that from really about how much they can handle after about 15 years of working, and then thinking about as to where whenever they know that they had enough, or maybe if they had too much or so. But the way I think about it, that really try to enjoy work as much as you can. Try to enjoy being young as much as you can, and as well as keep up the hard work, and knowing about it, you just keep on working as hard as you can. You do the best you can. But anyway, for anybody that may want to, whereas like it's really like really, what else can you say other than you try to support one another as much as you can also. But talk about it for inheritance plan, talk about it for retirement, May 25, and thanks for watching. Have a great day.